Kenya is known for its vibrant culture and beautiful landscapes, but beneath the surface, there's a darker side to life in Kenya that often goes unnoticed. It's a problem that affects thousands of people every day, and that includes toxic work environments. In this series, we'll be diving deep into the world of Kenyan workplaces to uncover the prevalence of toxic work environments and the devastating impact on employees. Fortunately, toxic work environments are all too common in Kenya. Many workers face daily challenges that impact their mental and physical well-being, often without support from their employers.
Who causes a toxic work environment? It's caused by three people in the organization: disengaged employees, people who are there physically, but they are not there mentally. They just spread negativity in the organization, how we are not being appreciated, we are demotivated. They just communicate bad things to their colleagues. Toxic managers also cause toxic work environment. Toxic business owners or employers also cause toxic work environment.
As we began our investigation, we came across a multitude of posts and videos from social media. Here, people were exposing and complaining about toxic work environments in various industries across the country. Some of the employees were taking action, others staging protests, and others just speaking out about their experiences. But the problem persists, and many employees feel powerless to make a change. The reports we came across included sexual harassment, discrimination, poor working conditions, and unfair treatment by employers. These reports came from a range of employees in different industries, including healthcare, hospitality, manufacturing, and more. Toxic work environments can have serious consequences for both employees and the organization. It can lead to high turnover rates, low productivity, and even legal action. Employees who experience toxic work environments should report it and seek legal action if necessary. It's important for both employees and employers to understand the rights and responsibilities. Throughout this series, we'll be examining the cause and effects of toxic work environments in Kenya and the steps that can be taken to create safer and more supportive workplaces. Join us for this important investigation, and together, let's shine light on the hidden problem of toxic work environments in Kenya. Today we delve deeper into the topic by examining a Facebook thread where people have come together to share their experiences of toxic work environments in Kenya. This Facebook thread has become a platform for people to share their stories and mistreatment about employers in Kenya. From underpayment and overworking to physical and emotional abuse, the thread is filled with heartbreaking stories of people who have suffered in toxic work environments. The stories highlight a need for a larger conversation around the issue and action to be taken to address it.
wanakuambia ukuwe Muislamu. Ukuwe Muislamu. Ukikuwa Muislamu unakuwa in good books na amesilimisha watu wengi. Ali sasa mwenyewe. Mtu akimwendea nataka kaza na muambie limradi unakubali kuwa Muislamu ama unipatie watoto wako wote wakuwe Waislamu. Amepeleka wengine Mombasa huko. Yeah.
Kenyans wake up every morning, brace the traffic, and recently the rains to get to work and run the rat race. Some want to switch off their alarms immediately they ring, asking themselves if they have to go to work, but are quickly hit by the reality that bills won't pay themselves if they ditch work. A survey by talent recruitment agency Brighter Monday, released in October, showed that when it comes to flight risk, 47% of people working in an organization are likely to leave their current employer in the next 6 months, 41% are not sure, while 12% don't want to leave work. When it comes to happiness in the workplace, 39% are happy with their current job, 50% are neutral, while 11% are unhappy with their current job. When it comes to being valued for the work one does, 58% say they are valued, 28% say they do not feel valued, while 14% said they do not work. Job security, pay, and proximity to work are the most important factors for the different job levels, a report by the firm says. But for some, their reluctance to go to work has little to do with the above factors and more to do with the environment. A toxic work environment can make going to work dreadful. Some people silently battle depression because of a toxic work environment. According to WHO, depression affects 300 million people worldwide. A few weeks ago, Classic 105's Maina and Kingangi's had a discussion on toxic work environments. Many of his listeners called and gave experiences with their supervisors and managers. Many suffer in silence because they do not feel safe opening up to their supervisors. So, what does a toxic work environment look like? A toxic workplace can be described as a place of people who make it hard for an individual to work peacefully, hence causing serious harm to someone. This can lead to depression and it sometimes may contemplate suicide. The people you work with, from managers, supervisors to colleagues, can make your workplace very toxic, which in turn affects your work and the target set. Claudia has been working for an organization for 6 years, and in those 6 years, she says that she often goes home an angry woman. I've been working for this organization for 6 years and it has not been easy. Every morning I wake and wonder if it's a must for me to go to work, because when I imagine I'm going to work under the same roof with my manager, I feel sick, Claudia narrated. As we speak, you could hear her voice shake, filled with so much anger. She went on to describe how badly she is treated by her boss and the number of times she has thought about quitting. Since I joined this organization, I have worked under one supervisor, and over the years, I have seen how inhuman he is. He doesn't know how to address his juniors and constantly belittle us. It has been really tough working under him. Since he's the boss, we are afraid of standing up for ourselves. Personally, I am a quiet person. I rarely speak even when things are thick. And this has greatly affected me health-wise, as I have to take painkillers because of endless migraines. When asked what measures she has taken to make things better, she said, "Just as I have told you, I don't talk much and I tend to bottle my emotions. I find myself crying when I get home because that's the only time I'm allowed to show my emotions. I would have quit by now, but getting a job is quite hard and these streets are tough, so I always hope for a better tomorrow." Monday, a former employee at reputable media house noted that when the manager says things like, "You can Google someone's job," when it means they do not care about your contribution to their company. She had been at the company for 7 years, built the digital marketing capacity from scratch to an average of 2.4 million monthly income. My qualification was trashed and belittled to mere administrative work. To quote my former manager, it is a matter of putting the right thing at the right place. I was the group webmaster and programmatic lead running a solo department with no help or support from the organization, she said. She says it was high time she moved because her work was not being appreciated. Why continue working in a place that does not even appreciate your hard work? You will continue working in that toxic environment not knowing that you are literally harming yourself. Even if I don't get another job immediately, at least I'm not working in a place that makes me feel demotivated, Mandy added. A toxic environment does not choose whom to harm. Even though women are vocal and speak up when faced with problems, men also go through hardships at workplaces. Mwangi has been taking medicine because he suffers from ulcers. A common cause of ulcers is stress. Anyone who has to deal with ulcers can tell you how painful it is. I started developing ulcers after I joined my workplace, and it's all because of my supervisors. He is constantly talking to us rudely, and this really affects us. There's a time I called him to let him know that I'm unwell and will be going to the hospital. He literally told me, "You should have communicated earlier." I mean, do you plan when to get sick? Because that is what he meant, Mwangi narrated.
Welcome to this interview, where we will be exploring the important topic of mental health and toxic work environments with a highly qualified clinical psychologist. As we continue to navigate a rapidly changing work landscape, it has become increasingly clear that the psychological toll of toxic work environment is not only pervasive, but potentially debilitating. Our guest today brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to this conversation, having worked extensively with individuals who have suffered consequences of toxic work environments. In this interview, we will discuss the impact of toxic work environments on mental health and strategies for coping and healing from the effects of workplace toxicity. Join us as we delve into this crucial topic and gain insights on how we can work together to promote a healthy, thriving work environment for everyone. Clinical psychologist Riziki Ahmed explained why people experience toxicity in their workplaces. So what does a toxic workplace do to someone? If it's toxic, then it means it's not a good working environment, so the stress levels are high and someone can have high anxiety levels. How many people come to you in a day due to work stress? There are many people, especially anxiety, stress, and depression, and it can be work related, especially when there's change of management or employees maybe don't understand what is happening, or when there's restructuring and you don't know if you will lose your job. What brings about toxicity in a workplace? I think it's competition. At times, everybody wants to step on another person to get to another level. And also, if you have the top management, maybe there are people who listen to stories from other people, like they are told stories about the other people and they listen. They shouldn't allow such kind of things so that there is no storytelling. Also, there is competition. I think there should be clear structures of, if I come in at this level, this is how I will advance. If the structures are clear, I think it can also reduce toxicity in the workplace, and also having sessions, maybe team building sessions. How does it affect someone's productivity? When you're stressed, you'll get burnt out, and when you have a burnout, your productivity will definitely be very low. So there's no way you're going to produce when you're having a burnout, because you don't feel like doing anything. You're feeling very tired. Your alertness is very low, so you will not be able to produce at your very best. It won't be as good as it would have been if the person had gone deeper into depression. What solutions would you recommend? Having clear structures in a workplace, having clear reporting mechanisms as to who reports to who, and having regular meetings to discuss anything, and when implementing any changes, to make sure they take the staff through a lot of discussions on the same to make sure that they understand exactly what the change is. Supervisors and managers are meant to guide their juniors to help them to grow into different fields. But most employees complain that the supervisors make it hard for them to be productive. The Star spoke to a supervisor who requested to be anonymous, who works for an organization in Nairobi, to give a view of what a supervisor is supposed to do and why many employees feel oppressed in their workplace. Why do you think some supervisors oppress their employees? I think those that do it draw their wrong motive from the notion that when you're a supervisor, you're superior. The fact is that if you're a supervisor, you are a leader and should avoid feeling or acting in a makes those in your team feel inferior. Do you think they do it willingly or unwillingly? I think for some, it is deliberate, coming from thinking that they must be harsh to gain respect from those they supervise. For others, it may just be an issue of communication or lack of it. What drives a boss to make outrageous demands for an employee that leads to depression? If they are in a situation where they have outrageous demands from their seniors, they are more likely to make the same of those they supervise. What are some of the measures the company needs to put in place to avoid such? I think it is important to companies to invest in management training, especially on issues related to emotions. Stress management is also a critical skill that managers need. As we continue to explore the issue of toxic work environments in Kenya, we turn to a popular YouTuber, Muthoni Mukiri, who recently shared her perspective about toxic workplaces. In a video, she describes the warning signs of a toxic work environment and encourages viewers not to tolerate such environments, reminding them that they are replaceable. Let's listen in as she shares her insights on this important issue.
Today, it's about a work environment that's toxic, that's abusive, that's draining you, that's making you depressed, that's bringing you anxiety, that's messing with your mental health. A toxic work environment. Probably we could start by defining a toxic environment. It's a toxic where you're dishonored, your values are disregarded, you're treated in an inhumane way, and probably you don't have a voice, you're too uncertain, you feel you're not good enough, you feel you are underpaid, you feel you are belittled as a person, you feel like they don't honor you and what you bring to the table, and in some cases it goes to sexual abuse, it goes to physical harassment. It's an umbrella of everything that I've spoken about, and I've been written to by a lot of people. I have mails from, there's this lady who says sometimes she imagines going to work and she just gets a headache. She says her workspace messed up even her relationship. There are also ladies who've written to me, women who've written to me about sexual abuse in the workplace. It becomes so unbearable, you want to leave, but they feel like that's where they make their living, like they cannot leave. And a lot of people have asked me to talk about this, surviving a toxic work environment. So the first thing that comes to my mind, or the first thing that probably is ideal, is becoming a change agent. This means like standing up for yourself, calling the abusers out, going to the human resource manager, writing emails to the relevant authorities, saying no to their faces, and demanding what's rightfully yours, demanding the right respect, the right treatment, the right, your rights as a human being. That is what it is. Becoming a change agent can be very powerful. However, you need a lot of support from your colleagues or from people who know your story, who can help you with that. You need a lot of support. If you're going to come forward with, for example, if your boss is sexually harassing you, is abusing you physically, or you're depressed, and you need a lot of support, maybe from people who you work with, your colleagues, to be able to come forward with toxicity claims or abuse claims. However, it's a big sacrifice to probably come out and say, our boss has been sexually harassing us, this and this has been happening in the office, I need it to change. You probably have to sacrifice a lot. However, sacrificing your humanity for people who probably would not even recognize it, for people who will probably move on like nothing has happened and ignore your efforts, can be sad, draining, and that is why some people hold back from coming out from the toxicity, or from coming out to say they're harassed, they've been abused, they've gone through all manner of things. We are brought up by this statement of nothing comes easy, or no pain no gain, and we automatically interpret it as you have to really suffer, you have to really go through pain, you have to really go through a lot of tears to make it to the top, or to get that paycheck at the end of the month. But guess what? When we say nothing comes easy, it does not mean it has to be that painful. It means you probably need to work harder. It means you probably need to wake up a little bit early to be consistent. It has nothing to do with you sacrificing your dignity, your standards, what you stand for, sacrificing your body because of a paycheck. It doesn't mean that. So this is what I can tell you, and this is what I will tell you. If you are working and existing within spaces that don't honor you, don't respect you, don't reinforce you, don't recognize you as a human being, don't honor your work, they don't recognize your feelings as a human being, make your exit. Make your exit. I'm sure some people might come here to start saying, oh, you can't just leave your job. Let me tell you, it's not worth taking those antidepressants. It's not worth having those panic attacks in the washroom. It's not worth it. It's not worth sacrificing. No paycheck is worth sacrificing your mental health. Your mental health, your peace is so important, you guys. It's actually priceless. You have no idea. You are not required to kill yourself, to shrink yourself, to dishonor yourself for the comfort of someone else. You're not allowed, you shouldn't, and you're not required to suck yourself dry, to drain yourself, to give away your body, to give away your dignity, to give away your esteem so you can make money for your employer, because that's what usually it is. So for the comfort of someone else, you have to suffer. It has to be painful. You have to lack sleep at night. You have to take antidepressants. You have to go and take those anxiety shots. It's totally not worth it. I would tell you that. So some people might argue, so what do I do? Do I just leave my job? Look for a job, apply for a job, revamp your CV, look for a job, think of an exit plan. You can even plan it for like a whole 6 months, put some money aside, pay your rent in advance, find out what you can be doing to even get an extra coin if you leave work before probably you get the same job. But make your exit. It's totally not worth it, by the way. Sometimes I say there's no amount of money that's worth you risking your health. Health is paramount. You're going to hospital, being admitted for days because of ulcers, because of those stress diseases and stress illnesses. It's totally not worth it. It's not. And sometimes you ask yourself, I've asked myself before, like people who drive nice cars, people who are living in very nice homes, people who are so happy in their jobs, people who are really living their lives in a good way and in a happy way. Those people don't work where you are. Not everyone here who's successful has worked where you are. Not everyone is doing what you're doing. And sometimes you find that we sacrifice so much of ourselves and of our dignity, of our well-being for so little money, for such little money. I feel also like what I've talked about when we say nothing comes easy, we equate, like it's like we're addicted to suffering. Okay, it's part of humankind, but you shouldn't. It's like we're addicted to pain. We're addicted. No, as in all your life you say you're crying because of a relationship, because of a job, because of this, because of, and it can't be good. It can be good. You do realize that it can be. So revamp your CV. Come up with an exit plan. There's a lady who revamps people's CVs on Instagram. Her name is Joanne, the career coach. I don't even think she knows I follow her. Joanne, the career coach. Her Instagram channel her Instagram page, her Instagram page is on fire. Wow. Please, if you're looking for, if you're stressed at work, if you're in a toxic work environment, you're thinking of looking for a new job, talk to her. She can revamp your CV. She also can help you revamp your LinkedIn account and also help you apply for jobs. So have a plan. Have a plan. Don't just sit there and wait for a miracle. Let me tell you, no one will come to make your life happy or better. You have to do it yourself. No company will sit down and realize, by the way, she's taking antidepressants, let's take her. Even the people who get poached are not people who are so stressed. They're people who show like they can rise above the challenges, not in a bad way. But don't think you're suffering there so that an angel can come and rescue. Don't think that you're there suffering and an angel will come and rescue you out of nowhere. Don't think things will fall from heaven and blah, blah, blah. Apply for jobs. Pray about it. Prayers are good so God can lead you the right way. And also make you exit. Do not get sick because of a job. Don't. It's totally not worth it. And that day you leave, let me tell you, most of these jobs, when you leave like this minute, by tomorrow they already have somebody to replace you, somebody who's training you. That is what usually happens. They don't need you like that. They don't. Take your dignity, take your respect, take your education level or whatever, and take it somewhere where it's going to be valued. Don't waste it for people who don't recognize. The employer is just there to make their money through you. It's not like you have any sentimental value to them. You are of any sentimental value to them. No. So if it's not honoring you, if it's not giving you the respect you deserve, if it's making you sick, make your exit. So, as I wind up, if you really want to change the world, change what you show up for, change what you tolerate, and change what you subject yourself to.
A participant going by the name Miss Ndanu pointed out that having self-awareness helps one navigate relationships with colleagues better, from how close you can get as friends to where boundaries needed to be drawn. Once I have learned my own personal capacities is when I have learned how far I can go with colleagues. There are some colleagues that have become family and friends, but I have also learned to be careful about my boundaries, Miss Ndanu said. She said that while handling a toxic workplace, one has to put out feelers to understand the extent of the toxicity. It helps to have an ally. This person will help you realize you're not crazy and that you are actually dealing with things that are beyond you. Then you can start thinking of practical ways to manage the situation until you can find your exit plan. Fuzu, a recruitment company, writes on their blog that one of the signs of toxic to look out for in an organization is poor communication. Being in a workplace where you feel left out is a sign something is wrong. In a case where there is insufficient information or suppression of feedback, it is a sign of poor communication in the workplace, Fuzu reports. Lack of supportive leadership and low work morale among staff are other red flags. In a healthy workplace cultures, employees are encouraged to respectfully challenge processes, procedures, and anything that is not working. In a fear-based culture, employees are silenced by intimidation, abuse, gaslighting, and domination, Forbes reports. CNBC reports that an indicator of toxic work culture is the lack of inclusivity, where members across gender, race, sexual identity and orientation, disability and age do not feel they are treated fairly, welcomed or included in key decisions.
In the first episode of our investigative journalism series, we explored the prevalence of toxic work environments in Kenya and their impact on employees. In this episode, we continue with our investigation, this time hearing directly from those who have experienced toxic work environments firsthand. For them, going to work every day meant facing a constant threat to their mental and physical well-being.
Here were the rules. Leave your emotions at the door. Didn't make sense what that meant. But then I discovered there was something missing. I wasn't sure that was my place. I started feeling left out of place right from the start. So there were groupies at work. And then they will show me that they don't want me. So I was part of a certain team. We were 15. So the 15 guys at work really made me think like I was not good enough. But I later discovered that was a team dynamic. So they're always fighting each other, because every time when I joined, 3 people were leaving. When I was there, other people were also leaving. So I didn't understand. I thought they were getting better jobs, honestly. Only to realize, oh, okay, this is why you're leaving. So that the dynamic of the team, the guys who remained at work were the gatekeepers. Now I can call them gatekeepers. So their work was to ensure that they frustrate you till you leave. So 2 years later, actually not 2, I didn't even last 2 years in that job. It got so bad to the point that I got depressed, but I didn't know it was depression, honestly. I just thought I was not okay. I was always tired. I always woke up in the morning and I'm like, I have to deal with this again. So that was every time someone would ask me, how are you? I'm like, is there another way? Like I could just escape this workplace. So the toxicity was so crazy that I think I had to always remember that I signed a contract that I cannot speak about by experience. The worst thing is I never took a break while at work, because I thought if I take a break, my manager will tell me, hey, so these people will say that you're not competent. You know, you may go, then someone will come, you'll get your job. So I was afraid of losing my job. Yet I was really doing my best at work. Because even the people who I would look up to never would take breaks. I actually discovered wine because of that job. Because everybody at work would leave and they will go get drunk. And I'm like, is this because it's fun or you can afford it? Kumbe everybody was dealing with stress differently. I became a different person. I couldn't really even see myself. I started having quarrels with my family, my friends, but I was just crying for help, but I didn't know what was going on. I would cry myself to sleep. It's really it doesn't really make sense that a dream job ended up really like traumatizing me to that point. So even at work, I developed a very bad habit where I will start second guessing myself. So even when I will do something, I had to ask like 10 people. So now, later I realized, that's how that dark space for me was. Like I never trusted my own guts, my own thoughts. I never trusted myself. You know, when you see yourself through other people, I'm like, I know where you're going to go, and I don't think I'm strong enough as your friend to hold you when you're at that point. So, you sure you... So that's what I do. I can't believe that. I feel like the guys who were hitting on me at that time, when I was in a toxic workspace, I was just like, hey, wewe mtu ananipenda. But now I feel like, I'm like, okay, now we can speak. That's a change. Even friendships as well. There's no wewe friendship. It's, so what do you plan to do with your current situation? I think now I'm in spaces where we have real conversations then with the question of what's the solution or what are you planning to do about it. So it has changed the relationship I have with myself, with others, and I feel like overall it's really, I think I'm in a good space.
Moment is a place where you wake up in the morning and you're not looking forward to going to work. If anything, you wish you didn't have to wake up to go to work. It feels punishing. It's worse than being in a jail. The most unfortunate thing about working in a toxic work environment is that it flows. It flows to your family, it flows to the people you live with, your friends and everybody else. Because when you get home, you've had a long day. It's one thing to be physically tired, it's something else to be emotionally and mentally exhausted. And a toxic work environment limits a human being's creativity. It does not allow you to flourish because you never sure of yourself. You always have that self-doubt. And even when your work is good enough, you don't feel the gratitude, you don't feel the joy of when maybe your supervisors tell you that it's a job well done, because probably 99% of the times you're not happy, or maybe nobody seems to ever notice your efforts. And the more you give, they notice you're giving, but instead of appreciating your giving, they demand more giving. So for me, that's a toxic work environment, one that does not give you the energy to wake up and go to it, despite you having a passion for the job and for what you're doing.
So what has the experience been like? Have you encountered such kind of working spaces?
My last job, my last employment, I quit because it was extremely toxic. Especially things got really tricky when COVID came, because as much as COVID hit other industries, and the advertising industry which I was in was also hit similarly, our company was not hit. We still had the same clients. The clients were still paying the same amount of money. But at some point, the management, which was quite a small company, so the management was not that big, the management decided it was time to cut down on employment, on employees, on the staff now. There were 14 of us, and we remember it started with maybe after you worked for January, your salary would get paid in February. So when you get paid in February, it means you've not been paid for the whole of January, and now you're not. So your salary comes in February, at the end of February, probably around 23rd, 24th, or 25th, which literally means the same amount of salary you're receiving for 1 month. Now you're receiving the same amount for 2 months, but they're not clear about it. They play around with your mind about it. They keep on delaying. They say they deposited a check, and yeah, it becomes really nasty, because it's, instead of concentrating on the work, you start concentrating on why do you feel exploited. You know, it's one thing to understand that your company is actually going through a difficult moment, because then it doesn't affect how much you work or how willing you are to do what you love to do. But when the same company, when you keep on bringing the same input, and you have the same clients, and you know they're paying the same amount of money, and somebody wants to play games with that, and with your money and your time, then it becomes really demoralizing. So for me, what happened was, we were 14 of us in the company. It was a marketing and advertisement company. It was more of an online media company. So it was like, let's say maybe like a January, we got paid by the end of Feb, and came March, and now the following, around April, towards the end of April, now that's when they intended to pay the salaries for March, which now had become a norm. Like they were paying 2 months, after 2 months they'd pay you a salary for 1 month. So, and it wasn't written, so it wasn't really, so then it was just delayed salary, as per se. That's how they would call it. But if you quit let's say you quit around January 30th or 31st, or you quit around February 5th, they'll not give you your salary for January. It will literally be impossible. They'll not give you that money. So they'll have stolen from you. So that always gave them an upper hand. One of the reasons apparently we felt they were using that was to make sure they kept the employees they wanted to keep, because they had your salary over your head. So towards April, they fired half the number. The manner in which that happened was very unprofessional, because I do remember, like, one day we have a WhatsApp work group, and you have this number of stories you're supposed to submit, We have online media campaigns, social media campaigns that are supposed to be ongoing and scheduled. And then from nowhere, the PA was called, the personal assistant to the CEO was called by the CEO, and she was told to remove everybody from the group, delete the group, create another group with 7 specific members. Well, I happened to be among those who were added in the new group. Actually, we were 5 of us with 5 new members. We happened to be 5. I happened to be among the 5 who were chosen. But then I will never find peace with it, because I wondered, the next time he wants to do this, what if it happens to me? What if it hits me? You wake up one morning, you have a job, and then the next minute you don't have a job, and somebody is actually trying to run away with your money. Because 30 days of waking up, paying bus fare, 30 days of paying Wi-Fi, 30 days of waking up, and when COVID came, the work was demanding. I remember I would sleep past midnight. So when all factors considered, I started to realize I did not have the job security that was needed. 2, I realized we'd come from submitting 3 stories per day. When the other members were fired, the bulk of the work was placed on us and negotiated, so the salary was not even to be considered, and that did not even mean that we'd be paid our salaries on time. So I found myself at a place where I was wondering, do I quit and find my peace? Because at that point, when COVID happened, we would not report to the offices. So I was working from home, and it was so demanding. So the CEO had called the personal assistant and asked that the WhatsApp work group be deleted. So the WhatsApp work group was deleted, and everybody now definitely was removed from the group. But then again, they created another group where now from the 14 employees we were, they created a group of 5 members. These were the employees now. The others, apparently, that meant they had been fired. There was no notice, there was no formal letter, it was just you deleted from the WhatsApp group. And it was very demeaning, the manner in which it was done. Fortunately for me, I was a member of the 5 that were added to the group, to the new group. But then again, a thought kept on hitting me and wondering, when is my day coming? When is the next time they're going to delete this other group? And where does that leave me as a person? I needed some level of job security. So I felt, even if you're dismissing your own house help in the house, or your own employee in the house, you just don't wake up and remove them from a group without an explanation. You explain to people what happened, and the best you can do is probably give them a notice legally, so that they're able to plan their exit. So we went into the new group, we continued. There was a lot of confusion. I didn't know whether to quit or stay, but I stayed. I didn't stay for long. I stayed for 2-3 months, and then I was like, no, I can't live with that kind of fear. So after the others were dismissed, or they were removed from the group, what happened is the bulk of the work that was supposed to be covering was placed on our shoulders. And when we joined the company, the agreement was to submit 3 stories and participate in 1 social media campaign every 2 days. Now here we were. From 3 stories, we were expected to submit 7 stories. These stories had a limit of how many words one story had to be. These stories, we were responsible for their sharing. When you write stories online, then again you have to also share them out on social media sites to make sure they get the coverage they need to get. So I found myself in a very difficult spot. I would wake up very early in the morning. Probably I'd be seated on my desk at the house by probably 6 a.m. in the morning. By 6 a.m. I'd be awake and seated. And I'd sit through that desk If nobody brings me lunch, if nobody serves me, even getting a cup of water was difficult because it was just too much work and too much pressure. Going to the washrooms was literally difficult because if a message is sent for you, tweet this, tweet that, and you're not there, it becomes a problem. And I find myself sitting up to past midnight. Remember, I sat on that desk at 6 a.m. in the morning. So if I'm still seated past midnight, then it meant I developed a back problem. I would wake up and instead of standing straight, I'd have to kneel because it was just too painful. And it got to a point where my children, given that my babies were in the house, they were toddlers. And I had a house help then. But then the thing is, children prefer their mother or their parents. So when I was working, they will come and probably want to ask something of me or ask where something is or want to report something. And I remember one day I slapped my son. And after I slapped him, it hit me. He didn't need it. He didn't deserve it. It was just coming to his mother. And as much as I was working with this workload, I was also a mom. So for me, that marked it. I just felt that was the end for me in that job because the level of pressure I was going through was literally putting me in a place where I didn't feel mentally safe. And the other thing was, so we resumed work. And when we resumed work, we didn't go past 2-3 days. We will be required to arrive very early in the morning because now we have to cover a lot of work. Remember, the team has literally been brought down to something very meager from what we started with. So for me, it became a lot of work. And I realized I would have to be picked with my husband from work late at night, like probably at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Remember, then again, end month comes, this person is not paying you. They start giving you stories. They send you for interviews, you go for interviews. And then until the second month, that's when they would pay. So one time I just wrote an email. I just called in sick actually and said, now that there was a pandemic, sorry to say, but I said one of my members had suffered a pandemic because I wanted to know what happens if one of my family members suffers a serious illness. What happens to me? Do I get fired? Because other people had gotten fired from the same place because of illnesses. So I wanted to test my value for the company. But at the same time, I was buying time for them to pay my salary. So I called in sick. It was around 5th. I called in sick of July. I called in sick. August came. I insisted. I still had a sick person at home to take care of. The end of July came. I had worked the whole of July. We were not paid. August began. We were not getting paid. Past August 20th, we were not getting paid. We were paid on August 23rd. And what we were paid was the salary for July, which means the August salary is going to come in the next month at around 23rd again. So he paid. When he finally deposited our salaries, I just forwarded my resignation letter. For me, it had become too much. Given the pressure, given the threats that came with it, we were constantly being told that the companies are releasing their employees. So we are lucky to have jobs and everything. And at the same time, employees were released from our company. And we still had the same amount of work to do. You see, if we talk about probably the hospitality industry, by the time a restaurant released the employees, it was understandable. The amount of work was no longer the same. The amount of work had been downsized totally. So it was not the same for us. For us, the work was double or triple. But then again, some were still withholding our salaries and taking advantage of the high temperatures or probably the desperation that was there. And for me, that meant I just needed a break, so I took a break. And yeah, one of the most frustrating things about working in a toxic work environment is you wake up and wonder what happens if I quit this job, given the high rate of unemployment in the country. If I quit, where does that leave me as a person? How do I get assured I'm going to get another job? And it's a tightrope to walk on, because nobody assures you you'll get another job. You might not get another job. But then again, there's a choice to take between your peace of mind, or maybe for me I needed to choose my peace of mind, and then somebody else, they do not have the luxury of making that decision, and I totally understand it. So probably my call would be to the HR departments in the country. The mental stability of every employee is very crucial to deliver on a job. I loved my job. I loved writing. I was an excellent writer, I say that without a doubt, because when I joined that company, I was earning very little money. But within 3 months, my salary had gone up and I had been promoted to an editor. And my stories were getting the traction they needed, past what their stories were getting before I joined the company. And they said that to me, and the money was coming for me. But when COVID came, things changed and somebody decided to take advantage of the situation. So for me, I'd still say, even if I left, other than the workload that was placed on us because other people were fired, for me, there are things I didn't experience. I didn't experience direct insults from the CEO. But then again, we had other employees, especially the cleaners. You would see them get insulted, unprintable insults, things that would be very demeaning to hear. And for me, the other thing that stood out was I came from a different community. We were 2 of us. We came from different communities from everyone else in the company. And most of the times when we aired an opinion, or when we were in a discussion and we aired an opinion, it was not taken or judged as an opinion. It was judged for who we were. We were, according to them, we were liberal. We were too masculine for women. We were too, we believed in what we were saying too much for them. And they believed in some kind of submission that they couldn't find with us. Because we were the kind of person we were the kind of people who will bring our ideas on the table, and you bring your ideas on the table, and you argue out the ideas and come to a conclusion.
Our investigation into toxic work environments in Kenya has uncovered numerous stories of unsafe working conditions. But it's not just employees who are impacted. Employers who create toxic work environments tend to drive away talented and dedicated employees. In a video that recently went viral, popular radio presenter Anita Ray shares her personal story of a toxic work environment that ultimately led to her resignation. In the video, she describes how her boss's behavior began to impact her life in and outside of work, and the toll that this took on her mental health. Let's listen in as she shares her personal experience and sheds light on this important issue.
First of all, I'm not playing victim. I've never played victim. Number two, I'm not trying to make anybody look like a bad person. I'm just trying to be honest, because I'm tired of this whole mentality of, oh no, you need this job, you need future employment. Please don't say bad things about your bosses. I'm not saying bad things about my bosses. I'm saying bad things about toxic bosses. And I'm not even saying bad things. I'm just saying the truth about toxic workplaces, about toxic bosses, about someone who makes you want to die, about waking up and thinking, I need to be on air, and you start crying, literally. Enter the shower and you're asking God, do I really need this job? Genuinely, do I really need this job? I'm not going to name call here, and I'm not going to start at, bring us tea, bring us evidence. I have a lot of tea, and I'm not going to do that, because this is not about me. I'm doing this genuinely for people who are in workplaces that make them suicidal, people who are in workplaces that make them cut themselves. Jana, I got more than 100 messages of people saying, Aki Anita, me resigned, me Anita, I want to resign. Every single day, and I'm not lying. I get messages of, I'm suicidal, my boss is making me feel like I'm less of a person. And I was like, people don't even know I'm going through that, People don't even understand I'm going through that. Let me tell you something. I had complained about my work issues genuinely for a while. Then I realized, you know what? Anita, you're going to lose your mind. I just took leave. I went, sat down by the beach and told myself, what the hell am I even fighting for? What am I willing to lose? My sanity, my mental health, my happiness? Like, I'm no longer a happy person. I'm always angry. I'm always grumpy. I hate going to work. I hate it. And if you know me well, for me to hate going on air, me radio is everything for me. like being on air gives me happiness, peace, calm. Then that went. And it's hard, and I mean it. It's really, really hard. Akunaga kitumbaya. And I don't think people understand that. For someone who's creative, so someone who has to go on air and make other people happy, for someone who has to go on air and make other people's problems look like they're nothing, you need to be at least okay. You know, people don't understand what happens behind a microphone, what happens behind TV. Maybe you got heartbroken, you fought with your husband, and I'm not complaining, but I love being on air, genuinely. But you go through a lot. You're human. You know, just because you're on air doesn't make you any less of a human being. You have to go there and actually do a job that involves pleasing people who are human beings. So you can imagine you're going through your own personal issues, and then you come to a work environment that, one, you're not supported, two, you're not going to be appreciated, and three, you're being stressed. You can actually die. And let's not pretend. We have seen media people go down the drain, and we always use them as examples. Unaona nani venye alikufa juu alikuwa mlevi akidrive gari. Unaona nani, guys, it's not funny. We need to start talking up, because listen, we do need these jobs, but we also need healthy working environments. I need that job, yes, but I need it to be in a sane working environment. For heaven's sake, it's in the middle of a pandemic. Can you imagine? And I resigned, and I have so many responsibilities. And I told everybody in my life, I told my close people, guys, you have to decide. You either lose me mentally or I lose that job. Everybody was like, hey, we are not going back down that road. We're not. And today I woke up to someone saying, oh, Anita is a drunkard. That's why she got fired. I did not get fired. I don't have any warning letter, even one. And if anybody has warned me on email, they need to, because I don't have a warning letter. I do not have a letter of being suspended. I have nothing. And that's my truth, and I'm not even lying about it. I resigned out of the blues. I just came back and gave a resignation letter, because I realized this has been piling up for a while, since I think December or March. It's been piling up. A lot of negative things happening to you, a lot of negative vibes. You know, you feel like someone is genuinely frustrating you. You come up with something. No, that can't work. But when you do it out there, someone is angry. You're doing it without them. Do you know how hard it is? Someone is even frustrating you outside the office. And then to make it worse, a boss who uses your personal problems against you, that's a boss. You can't be telling people, oh, she's depressed, that's why she's like that. Oh, no, depression has nothing on my character. I am bold, I am aggressive, I am wild. Or you can't be telling everybody, she's depressed, be careful before you deal with that. What the is wrong with people, though? You can't use something like depression against. I owned it, it's mine. I owned all my demons. You can't use my demons against me, you get. And that is wrong. You need to understand the importance of being a good boss. You need to understand that once you have a good working environment, the organization grows. And for heaven's sake, Yani, we are all employed, and you're frustrating me. We are literally employed, all of us, and you're frustrating me, or you're frustrating someone else, telling people if they don't do things their way, they can go. Imagine people can go. This is me sitting here doing a video telling you, imagine people can go. Don't be threatening people like that. Don't imagine. It's not funny telling people, oh, utajua mini nani, you can always go. When you're the one who brought someone there, you're not God. Baby, I'm genuinely angry that the fact that people can do that to you and still wake up today morning and say, oh, she was a drunkard, we wanted to let her go. You fired people, you didn't let me go. So don't be lying that I don't work hard. That hurt my feelings. I work very, very, very hard, by the way. And anybody who knows me knows that. May even work, I'll work for my show, help someone else, because we all grow. We grow together. That's it. I need people to understand, yes, we need these jobs. And yes, bosses, we need to be pushed. We are human beings. You need to put a stand with whoever you're working with and tell them, I need you to work. But you cannot frustrate people. You cannot belittle people. And please, it's not a freaking competition. It's not. Who are you competing with? Who are you competing with? I keep trying to put my head around it. Who are you competing with? Because as a boss, you can't compete with your employees. It doesn't work like that. It has never worked like that. If you're a boss, you have to help your employees grow. If you're a boss, you should show the way, not shout the way. Get the difference. And if you're in a toxic working environment and you're watching this video, let me tell you something. Put your freaking foot down. I'm not telling you to resign, but I may resign because my problems are not fixable. I have tried, trust you me. I've tried, they're not fixable. So, if you're in a toxic working environment and you're watching this video, put your foot down. But sit your boss down and tell them, you know what? Imagine I love working. Yeah, I do. But I can't work in this environment like this. You're making me lose my mind. And if you think it's going to make you lose your mind, walk away. So listen, as I was saying, if you're in a toxic working environment, you need to sit your boss down. You need to sit the person who's toxic and tell them, listen, I love working here, I love this job, but you're a toxic person. And I don't have to like you, I just need to respect you, and I do respect you. Because we need to understand that. You don't need to love someone to work with them, you don't need to like them. That's overrated. You just need to respect them and do your job. That's it. Now, once we understand that, respect somebody and do your job. Leave alone their personal lives, they're not your friends. Leave alone their problems unless you're helping them. Don't bound them. And number 3, if you can't support someone at work, leave them alone. Don't pull them down. It's really, really wrong. As a boss, if you really feel like you're tired of working with this person, please fire them. But frustrating people to suicide, oh Lord, let's not even talk about suicide in media. Let's not even go there. Guy, let's not even talk about people who become alcoholics. Because me, I'm middle, I'm drinking. Let's talk about people who become alcoholics, you know. But we're media, we want to look perfect, we're hypocrites. It's just selling fake news and selling controversy and then making people look bad for actually selling the controversy. You get. It's a lot of hypocrisy. But I'm actually tired of it. So tired that I told someone, if this makes me never get employed on air again, imagine I'll be content with it, because I'm tired of the lies. I'm genuinely tired. And the pretense and someone trying to pull you down. And not because they can do a better job than you, because they're scared you're doing a good job. That's what pisses me off. If you're pulling down to do a better job than me, akia mungu fanya. By the fanya. But if you're pulling me down because I'm doing a job you can't do, that's stupidity. That's stupidity for real. If you're pulling me down because you feel, oh, Anita can do this better than me, and you're pulling me down for how? It's the same reason people in media don't hold each other's hand, because you're scared. What if I hold his hand and he becomes a better person than me? What if I help them and they grow better? Come on. I can't do what you do. Imagine I can't, and you can never do what I do. And as I end this video, listen and listen very well. If you're in a toxic working environment, speak out. Speak out before you lose your mind. Speak out before you become a mental health statistic. Speak out before you actually can't even speak, for that matter. I'm begging you. I've been there. I have cried myself to work. I swear to God. I have a producer sometimes at night, and he writes, we prepare music with him. He's one of the people who knows how much I've cried as I go to work. And I used to ask God, do I really need this job? Do I need this job? Every time I went home at around 1:30 a.m. in the morning, not complaining, I love that show to death. I used to ask myself, do I really need this job? What if I get jacked? What if I get shot? I've gotten carjacked. What if all this happens to me? But I love that job more than anything. For me to get to a point where I'm crying, where I hate that job, where I go on air and sometimes I genuinely cry when I'm playing a song. I play music, it makes me sad enough to cry. It's not worth it. I realize it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. And listen, the people watching this video, I know, trust you. Kuna wenye they don't care. Kuna wenye they've been celebrating, telling me niko na kiburi. Oh, I should have gotten fired kitambo. I'm going to repeat this. I didn't get fired by anyone. I resigned. I got tired of. And my exact statement when I resigned, I told my boss, one of my directors, I'm just tired of working in a toxic environment. And I was very honest about it. So I don't care what my bosses might say after this. The truth is, I just got tired. Nothing other reason. I just got tired of coming to work every day to get frustrated. I got tired of that. It's very tiring. Now, listen, I might be toxic to a lot of people. I'm human. That's okay. But I always say, if something is toxic for you, leave it. If I'm toxic for you, you really need to learn how to block people and unfollow them. Genuinely. Because we can't all be good, and you're always bad in someone's story. But anyway, one more time, I'm going to repeat this. If you're in a place that makes you risk your life, risk your mental health, and risk your sanity, it's never worth it, and it's not worth it, and it's never that serious. Because I'm going to end by saying this: if today you collapsed and died, they will replace you tomorrow. Because do you know what? The job always goes on, and life always goes on. And I mean, always goes on. Remember, stay safe and stay sane.
It is clear that the effects of toxic work environments can be long-lasting and difficult to overcome. Many of these individuals have sought help from therapists and other mental health professionals to help them cope with their experiences. The stories we heard from victims of toxic work environments highlight the urgent need for change in Kenyan workplaces. Join us for the next episode as we work further to clarify this matter and figure out a way to create safer and healthier work environments for all. Victims of toxic work environments usually feel alone and isolated. It is important for employers to create an environment where every employee feels respected and dignified. In this episode, we will be discussing the solutions provided by experts for dealing with toxic work environments.
There are very many ways of doing this. You can do this through research. You can do this through your colleagues in the office. You can do this through your peers, and by peers I mean maybe people you are in the same colleges with, or you interacted with in seminars that you attended of the same what is it called, profession. So you can do that, discuss with them so as to learn. You're here, what you're doing mostly is learning how to resolve conflict, how to manage conflict, how to manage different personalities in terms of your team members, in terms of your bosses. So you really have to upskill yourself and learn how to handle different situations before you decide to quit. This can be your fellow colleague, it can be your spouse, it can be your family member, it can be a friend, but their main role here is sanity check. You don't want to go crazy, because a toxic work environment can literally make you nuts. In Kenya, we call this kujichocha. You must kujichocha yourself and tell yourself things like, this is not a crisis, it's only a challenge. You also tell yourself things like, my job, my title does not define me holistically. I have other roles that I believe I play better. And I remember when I was in campus doing my master's, one of my lecturers said, sometimes you're in a meeting and this person, your boss rather, has really scolded you to a point that you have zoomed out and you can only think of giving them a hot slap or punching that nose so that they can learn. But when you get to this level, what do? You excuse yourself. And these are our words, by the way. We found it very hilarious. You excuse yourself, go to the washroom and flush that toilet as many times as you can. Apparently that flushing has a way of calming your nerves. Even if you move from one toilet to the other, flushing, but you're busy there calming yourself. So yes, I hope it helps. You can trade stories with your colleagues and make it and laugh about it. Like one of the people I was talking to were telling me that they usually tell themselves, when you get into this office, you leave your happiness and joyfulness at the door, at the entrance, and you pick all the tiredness that you left there and the negativity, now you wear it, and then you get into the office. When you're leaving to go home, you drop everything that you had picked from the door to the office and now pick your mother role, your husband role, you whatever other role that you have out of the office. Basically what you're saying is that she learned that is the only way she can separate work environment from home environment, so that she doesn't take the negativity of the office space to her home. Maybe have sticky notes of motivational quotes around your workstation. You can even have pictures of your children or your pet or your girlfriend or your spouse, pictures that make you happy, just to zone out from this toxic work environment. There's a reason why I have this as my last point. If you have tried anything humanly possible, you have done all these things that I have talked about, 5 points, you have talked to the human resource of your organization, nothing has changed, you have tried all you could and nothing is working, it's time to start planning your exit. Toxic work environments have very negative effects. They could bring a depression, anxiety. You could either overeat or undereat, and it's not healthy. You can just literally not know how to balance this toxic environment, and you're not able to separate it from your home environment. So if you get to this point, this is the last resort. Just start planning your exit. And in this point, I would also recommend a movie on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it. It's called Inhuman Resources. Unfortunately, there are some employers or managers who don't see a toxic work environment developing or unfolding. Others see it and decide to ignore it or underestimate the effect this toxic environment will have to the organization, without thinking that the productivity in the organization will go low. They'll have a bad brand image because of the turnover that is high, so people go talking badly about this organization. They literally underestimate the effect of a bad, or rather a toxic work environment. So if you notice that a toxic environment is developing in your organization, it's about time that you strategize with your managers, with the HR, even a representative of the employees. Have a sitting and strategize on a solution. Find the issues that are happening and decide on how you're going to solve them. Getting an expert might help if you, as the employer, the managers, are willing to change. No expert will come and perform miracles if you, the manager, if you, the employer, are not willing to change. So the change must first come from yourself. If you, the owners, are the ones creating the toxic environment, accept your mistakes, as hard as it may be, accept and work on changing. In this strategic meeting, whatever is decided of how to get to move the organization forward is all that matters. Sometimes it can even lead to a proposal of laying off people who bring negativity within the organization.
We sampled the opinion of one employer, Bridget Hyacinth. She said, and I quote, "I give my employees leeway with break, sick leave, family leave, etc. I don't micromanage. It's a complete waste of time. I pay for brain hours, not seat warmers. I'm not running a daycare. You do not need to raise your hand and ask for permission to step away from your workstation. Why hire someone and then keep looking over their shoulder? It's surprising how managers don't get this. Nitpicking is demoralizing. Magnify the positives and you will get better results. All the money, perks and team building exercises will not retain employees if you keep treating them poorly. If employee engagement is low, maybe it's time to look in the mirror."
Creating an inclusive and safe work environment is key to preventing toxic behavior. Employers need to prioritize training employees on how to recognize and address toxic behaviors, as well as promote safe and supportive environment for all employees. Here are 10 methods for fixing a toxic work environment and for creating a more positive work environment. Here are 10 methods that employers can use to fix a toxic work environment and build a more positive one. 1. Engage with employees in positive ways. Have a positive presence. Do not be locked up in your office all the time. Let your employees know that you don't place yourself on a pedestal by engaging with them regularly throughout the day. 2. Create a safe space for healthy discussions. Emotional intelligence is key to any great relationship. Create an excellent atmosphere for communication. Keep the door open for employees to express their concerns or ask questions without fear of ridicule or losing their jobs. 3. Lead by example. Be willing to teach your employees procedures and policies by living them. Leaders that lead by example create a more favorable workplace vibe. 4. Express gratitude to your staff members. Show your staff appreciation and recognition where it's due. Let them know that they are valuable and without them, the company would fall. Be sincere and point out specific things that they succeed at. 5. Tap into the unique strengths of each team member. Consider each person's skill set by assigning projects or teams that will give them a chance to shine and use their strengths to the best of their ability. 6. Show respect for your employees' needs. Respect each person's boundaries and needs, whether it be time off for a religious holiday or letting them communicate a HR issue. 7. Provide constructive forms of criticism. Coach in a constructive and positive manner. Ask powerful questions that will help them formulate new ways of doing things if something isn't working, and support their individual job growth and potential. 8. Establish and maintain a standard of fairness. Be fair to all your employees. Treat all your employees with respect and equality. Honor their diversity and individualism. 9. Facilitate opportunities for inclusive team bonding. Create camaraderie between employees and leaders through socialization and sharing. For example, host a weekly or monthly event like Bagel Fridays, where the company supplies everyone with breakfast and coffee to encourage a comfortable and communicative workplace setting. 10. Allow team members to own their roles and performance. Give employees the freedom and flexibility to make decisions that best suit their project or work goals. Within reason, this autonomy will help build trust and make employees feel more confident and valued. The causes of toxicity and hostility in the workplace are generally linked to negative attitudes among employees regarding management procedures. Workplace environments can transform when employees feel safe, respected, and heard. Although these suggestions are just the tip of the iceberg, they can help inspire you to be the change your fellow teammates need in order to fix a toxic work environment. By working with legal experts, employees and employers can work together to create a safe and healthy work environment for all. On our ongoing investigation, we recognize the importance of legal experts in providing insight into the legal implication of toxic work environments. Legal experts can provide guidance on legal frameworks that exist to protect employees in Kenya. In cases of toxic work environments, legal experts can advise employees on their legal options and provide representations in legal proceedings. Additionally, the legal experts can advise employers on their legal obligations to prevent and address toxic work environments. Today, we have reached out to a legal expert to provide insight into the legal implications of toxic work environments on employees.
Case law has defined what a toxic work environment is, and it includes a couple of things. It includes a hostile environment. It includes an environment where there is sexual harassment. It includes an environment where there is gaslighting, or an environment where employees feel that their self-esteem and dignity is being taken away day by day. One recourse is the internal dispute resolution recourse, and the second recourse is the court direction. In the first recourse, the employee is supposed to speak to their direct supervisor. They are supposed to speak to their HR manager and also speak to their overall manager. That is depending on whether the matter needs to be escalated. In all those cadres, the employee is supposed to keep proper records and write emails, write WhatsApp messages, put it in writing in form of letters, so that eventually, if there will be need to go to court, there will be evidence. If there will be no evidence in court, the court will deem that the employee condoned that behavior and they will not be paid whatever damages they would have been paid. The second route, the court route, is when you have tried all those internal dispute resolution mechanisms and they have failed, then you are required to resign and indicate that the reason for your resignation is a toxicity. That way, the court can find that you are constructively dismissed. Constructive dismissal is a situation again where you resign not out of your own volition, but out of the necessity which has been created by a toxic work environment. But I must insist again that every case will turn on its own circumstances and the level of evidence provided by the employee. So that again, if the employee has provided good evidence and if the employee has very good grounds, they have no reason to fear that they will spend a lot on a case and lose. If you are working at a place and it became toxic and you left through that process we have called constructive dismissal, where you resigned involuntarily, you have 3 years to file suit. After that, your suit becomes statute barred. The law considers 3 years to be reasonable time because one, litigation has to come to an end, and two, suits do not have to hover over people's head like the sword of
that are there. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I think it takes both parties to then agree on the kind of work environment that they want, and the employer provides the lead by putting in place the policies, the procedures for dispute resolution, making it clear that this is not acceptable behavior in this company, that people are to be managed in a way that treats them with respect. And if there are cases where these standards are flouted, then there is transparency and fairness, and people feel safe enough to come forward to raise these issues. The unfortunate reality is that most employees do run into problems, but they don't report. So if it's hidden, if you're too shy or too embarrassed or for whatever reason you're afraid, you don't report it, then the employer cannot take action. But the level of toxicity in an organization depends on the people. They must have a situation where you decide to create the right environment. And really, the tone starts at the top, because if the CEO in the organization or the MD, whatever the title is of the person at the top, sends a clear message that these are the values of this organization, you have policies and procedures, you have avenues for redress, you have grievance handling procedures in place, and there is a process to deal with these matters. So it may sound utopian, but it's what we do every day, resolving conflicts at the workplace in a way that is win-win for both parties. Where that fails, we end up in court. We're dealing with a very stressed group of people. We're dealing with mental health issues. We're dealing with drug and substance abuse. And employers are having to take the initiative to go beyond the norm to see how to support employees. So we haven't actually seen a lot of disputes in this area dealing with toxicity instead. And I have dealt with those kinds of issues in the corporate world, where a manager has a style of management that is, it's basically bullying. That person is going through bullying, and it's not one of the things that we start with. There should be a feedback system in the organization. In my view, the problem is not the law. The problem is the implementation, the compliance with the law. The capacity of DOSH and the Ministry of Labor as a whole to carry out inspections and to do awareness training to employers, because this is their role. The FK does it, but really it is the government that is supposed to help employers and corporates, NGOs, to understand what is required of them, and employees also to understand their rights. So it is the compliance and the implementation where there's a gap.
As we conclude this eye-opening investigation into toxic work environments, it is clear that change is needed. It is not enough to simply acknowledge the problem. Action must be taken in order to ensure we create safe and healthy workplaces for everyone. But the good news is that solutions are within reach. We have heard from our experts who have provided us with practical steps to identify and address toxic work behaviors, from creating clear policies and procedures to fostering open communication and promoting a culture of respect and inclusion within the workplace. And now it is up to each and every one of us to take action. Whether you are a CEO, a manager, or an employee, you can play a vital role in creating a positive work environment. So let's work together to make our workplaces safe and healthy and welcoming for all of us. Let's work together to create a work culture that respects the contributions of every individual. Let's take action today and pave way for a brighter, more productive and fulfilling future for us all.